Hi, Ann Cornick from Paint and Porcelain and Paint and Porcelain Exchange, and today we're going to finish our crocus. And I know that everybody's been kind of waiting for this. It's really has been a fun project to do. This is my first fire, and the first fire always comes out light. So for those of you that are beginners and you see this and you go, that's not the way I painted it. It was much darker than that. It's gonna fade. Don't panic, don't panic. I know, now this is what we're going for. Let me show you. And even my yellow, you see my yellow background on this one is going to be, I have to make this one darker to get to here. And I also have to put depth on. And with this one, I have a third fire. All you basically do on a third fire, you look at it very carefully, maybe take a picture of it, hold it up in a mirror, or whatever you do to help you decide what you still need to do. And then I go through and I add the depth and kind of separate the petals the way I want so that it looks more finished. Now, if you are a beginner, one of the things you need to do between every fire is you need to sand it. This is a sanding block. You can get these from Dallas, China or Maryland, China, and it's just theirname.com. It's real easy to find. It's a sponge on top, so it easily conforms to whatever piece you're sanding. And it's a very, 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 very fine sandpaper on the other side. If you don't have this, you can try a paper bag. Brown paper bags do have a little bit of, well, I don't want to say grit, but they do, they will sand for you. Then rub your hand over. And if it's smooth, then you know you've done a good job because that's what you want it to be. Another thing that we're going to be using on this that we used last week, and I forgot to mention up front, is one of these sponges. Now you can use these sponges if you want, but what I'm doing is I'm painting the color on, and then I'm using this sponge because if you look at them side by side, this one leaves fewer fingerprints. When you use it, you put your finger in the middle, you form it around your finger, then you take your finger out, and that gives you a nice ball to work with. And you can shift from one side to the other. You can use one side to do it and then flip it over and use the other side. You wash these out with Awesome, and they will last you a very, very, very long time. You get in a spray bottle, but this is what it looks like, and you get it at the dollar store or even the drug, I guess the regular stores carry it now. But this is a really great product. Colors for today are going to be, you're going to have peach. This is, well, first of all, I have this pink, and this pink. This is Sandoz pink. This is soft, new soft pink from Rins. And this is a peach blush. Now, it doesn't matter what pinks you use. But I have a light, a medium, and a dark. And the only reason I did that was because sometimes I think I need a different color pink as I'm doing the petals. And this gives me an option. I also have two of the heliotrope. Now, I'm going to bring them real close. This one on this side is the darker of the heliotropes. The other one is very light, almost like my pinks. Now, whichever one you have, you can use. And a royal violet is my favorite, but whatever dark violet you use is great. I use Ruby Best, a caution about her Ruby Best. This is the color it comes out right there. That third petal over right there. It's a very bright ruby, so you may or may not like it. I don't like it in large quantities, but I do like it on something like this. This is chartreuse. Here's my black, and this is primrose, which is a light yellow, and the golden ochre, or yellow brown. Oh, we're also going to do the border on this. The border on this, I believe, was done in the Ruby Best. But then I toned it down quite a bit. So, and I put a little purple, a little of the heliotrope. I'm going to start with my large filbert, You don't have to have a filbert. If you don't have a filbert, you could use something like this, which is a square shader. I'm going to start with the background, obviously, because the background is very important on this. If you try to do the background after the fact, you're going to have a big problem because you can't easily do the background. Once you've started the flowers, it just messes everything up. So, by the way, I've switched back to turpentine. Don't ask me why, but it seemed like the turpenoid all of a sudden wasn't cleaning my brushes the way I liked. So I went back to turpentine and now they're all clean. So just slap it on, ladies and gentlemen. There's nothing to this. You just slap the color on where you want it. Now I know it's bright, but remember we're going to pat it off and that will make it a lot less bright. This also fires very, very, and very, very light, very pale, and that's why I like it. That's why I use primrose. You don't have to. You can go over your flowers. You can go over your leaves. If you're a beginner, this is probably not an ideal first flower for you, but if you're a beginner, when you do something like this and it's a solid color background, you can just go over things and you don't have to worry about it. Okay, now I'm going to take a Q-tip and I'm going to go around the edges. I don't want it over the edges. And I might even put my brown in down below. Down here we're going to have some brown. Oh, I didn't tell you about the brown. And you're just going to put it in. It's just like you almost use it back and forth like this. And then feather it. You just want the illusion of ground down there. Oops, got a little out of hand here. My Q-tip, okay. Okay, now taking my sponge, putting my finger in the middle of it, putting my sponge around my finger, and now I'm just gonna, you pat heavily on the first going around. At least this is what Randy Willett was showing us. Pat heavily. Now because I have yellow on here, I don't want to do the brown right now. And then I'm gonna pat very lightly. Okay, and now we're gonna go in a little corner here on the sponge, not the whole sponge, and I'm gonna do the brown. Do the patting first. You see how much that takes off when you pat? And then you're just going to go back and pat lightly. And in this case, I'm going to try to pull it as I pat it more towards the bottom. There. I think I want it a little darker here. There we go. And then I'm going to go back through with this and go all the way around again, try to get it off the sides, because sometimes that sponge. Okay, so that's what I have so far. And then I'm going to go and wipe off. Now I'm going to use, this is called a stump. It's cardboard. You don't need to use this. You can use erasers, a lot of people do. I like the stump because look how well it erases. It gets the color that you don't want off a piece. You can use the side of it, this side of it, or the point, whatever you want. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just pulling some of this color off like that, real easy. There, I'm going to take it off the top too, up here, because do you see how much was up there? It's almost like here, it's almost hard to see, but when I take it off, you notice that it becomes much whiter. So make sure you get all your colors off from around your flowers, because you really want, and this one in particular, up here, because you really want the true color of your flower to come through. Okay. And then I hold it up to the light. I've got a window right out here, and I just look at it and make sure I've got it all off. Because I haven't painted this yet, it's still smooth, so it works pretty well. Okay, I'm going to turn it back towards me. Now, the object of this firing is to try to get your colors a little bit darker and get the depth in there where the shadows are. That's the two things I'm trying to accomplish on this. I might start with my leaves. And the reason I'm starting with my leaves in the back, these are actually tulip leaves. And the story is I don't like crocus leaves. I think they're ugly. But we will put some crocus leaves on here. And these are crocus leaves. They have a little line through the middle and they're very thin. But I don't think they fill in the piece as nice as a tulip leaf. So that's why I'm leaving the tulip leaf. Now I'm going to start here and I'm going to go, let me see. I'm full loading with chartreuse, side loading with like a dark. I might at times even use a shading green because I do like the look of the shading green. That's why I always keep my palette nearby. If it gets dark like that, you pat it off on your towel, your paper towel, and then you just, see, you can cut into that. There we go. I'm just putting some color back in here. Okay, and then I'm going to pull it up. And here I will pull it up a little. Oops. Hang on, this is just too dark right there. Pull it up, press it over, going up the middle there a little bit just to give it a little bit of a leaf look, and then coming up over the top. Kind of do everything like I do my rose leaves. I do the bottom first. So for those of you that haven't seen it, let me turn it this way. I think that might be easier for you. I start and I do from one side to the other to the middle, and I just tap up the middle just to give me a little bit of a vein there. Now here I'm trying to shape that petal, so I'm going around it. Okay, and then I'm coming alongside the leaf just lightly using just the end of my brush. And then up here I'm flattening out a little more. Got to get a little more green on here, and I'm just doing the top. And I think that gives you a nice highlight. And then you can kind of brush it this way if you want. And I think it kind of gives you a nice highlight, and I think it also kind of gives you a little bit of extra depth, which is what you're looking for. But the highlight is the thing that's always the hardest to get on leaves, so it's important to do that. And then over here, I'm going to do the same thing. Right here, I'm going to straighten that leaf out a little. There we go. Come down, stop there, come across, stop there. And then I'm going to put a little bit of the dark on the end, come down this side, and just put a little dark on the very tip. Okay, those are my leaves. All right, now I'm going to start on my flowers, my petals. I'm going down to a smaller brush for this. Actually, I might use the bigger brush initially. I'm going to switch between these two, okay, just so you know. And I'm using the mixture that I got, that I learned about from Randy, where you mix 50%. Here, let me just get that a little bit. Where you take 50% mineral oil and 50% Lake Copepa, and it works very well for me. Okay, I'm using my lightest pink full load. I'm side loading a little bit. When I say that, it usually means I'm loading from this section down here because I don't want it to be too vibrant. Okay, and I'm going to start on this one here, and I'm just going to do the outside because that's where I kind of want a little bit of color. And here I would like this petal to be a little more colored, so I'm just putting see the little pink I'm putting on there? I'm just putting a little pink on there just so it gets a little bit of color. Okay. And then we're going to do the base of this guy. Now, the other thing with that Ruby Best, interestingly, is that it doesn't really look, when you put it on, the same way it fires. It fires much brighter. So when you're putting it on, trust that you're putting it on deep. If you put it on and it doesn't look like it's going to be deep enough, trust me, it will be deep enough. It will be deep enough. Okay. Alrighty, I'm cleaning my brush. And now I'm going to do these back leaves back here. I'm going to take a little bit of pink because right here I think I missed my opportunity to make this a little pink in this one here. And I also think I missed my opportunity right here. I think I wiped off a little more pink than I probably should have. There we go. And now I'm going to take the Ruby Best, and I'm just, see here, let me show you. Right here, this is in front. So I'm coming over that with the Ruby Best to put it out in front. See how that helps? Doesn't that help? And see, this guy here is in front, so I'm just bringing a little bit of dark up there. And then you can use your stump down the road and just make sure that the white is staying there. Okay, here we go. And with this guy, now as you get into the center of a flower too, you have to remember, this one's on top of this one. You have to remember that as you get into the center of a flower, it also gets darker down there. So you have to add a little depth as you go. I'm putting a little bit of purple on here, there, for the center of it. And then I have this final petal right there, and he's just a kind of a nothing, so I'm just gonna, but he is behind this one. This is behind this one. I hope I'm not making you dizzy. See how I did that? That's almost third fire quality because you see how dark it is. Okay, cleaning my brush again. Why? I clean my brush when I start a new flower usually just because I want to make sure that the color is as true as it can be. Now I'm going to my light heliotrope, and I'm going to put a little bit of light heliotrope in here. And then I'm going to take my Ruby Best and put back here. Side loading only. That means you only put, you do a C like this into your paint, and you just pick up enough to cover this, the final third of your brush. That's how you do it. See? And I'm going to make this a little darker up here. I want this one to have depth all the way up. Well, I think I'll go up here too. Okay. Okay. Now this one's going to be very pale. And I already did it with the lavender. Don't think I like the lavender particularly. So since I'm switching to a lighter color, I'm going with my lighter pink. I'm just going to do this. There. That's better. Because I really do like the lighter pink better. All right, I have light pink and purple now. I'm getting into the purples. This guy is behind this guy. So I have to put a little more purple on there to take it back. A little more shading. And I'm just doing like, almost like long C strokes to get that color in there just the way I want it. Here I'm coming down. Ooh, that seems to be awfully oily there. Oh well, I won't worry about it right now. And then I'm going to take my Ruby Best and I'm going to finish out the bottom of this by just doing, the C comes from the bottom up, but my up is a little more up than it normally would be. See? Comes up that high. Okay. And let me do that down here now. And then kind of pull across or pull up just to even it out, make it pretty. And then right here, this guy is in the background. See how I did that? That puts him in the background a little more. Okay, now we're going down into the middle of the flower. The middle of the flower, I'm going to use Ruby Best Full Load with a side load of Royal Purple. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going down into the middle of the flower here, and I really want to make sure that the middle of the flower has some depth. that. This guy needs to be a little more rounded than that. I don't know why it's not rounded. There we go. Okay. All right. And I'm going to do this way, sideways a little bit, just to give it a little there. Maybe this way too. There we go. Now, the middle of these flowers has this yellow thing. It's actually done with like a yellow brown. So here I'm going to put this one in with the pointer, and I'm going to put this one in with the pointer. You want to go across the bottom and down one side, whatever side you feel it needs to be shaded in. And there, I'll pull that out a little bit. I'm going to pull this purple out a little bit. It's a little too close there. Yeah, there. It's not quite as, doesn't fight me quite as much out there. Okay. And now, we should probably do this little guy up here. He's just done in a ruby. And a ruby. He doesn't have to be done real well because most people will not notice it. Cleaning my brush, I'm going to a lighter color now. I'm going to use the peach. Do the peach here. And a little peach here. A little peach on the end. And then I'm going to take my liner and my pointer. This one. And I'm going to put a little bit of color so that the color comes down. Because at the base of these, they have a color that comes down. It's not green. If you haven't noticed, they have a color that comes down. Let me get this up in here. Just a tad. Okay. Alrighty. And now I'm going to do this leaf here, because of course that leaf is in the way. And I'm going to do the same thing I do on the others. Just come down to the base. Come over to this side. The center is pretty well, you know, like if the center is dark enough, you know, like you've got that vein going down the middle, you don't need to do it again. Just decide what you want. If something looks good, leave them, leave them, leave them, leave them, leave them. It'll be absolutely fine. Here we're going to do it in the purples because that's the way it's going to be darker. Over here, I've added a little bit of, the ruby, and I'm just doing that guy there. Up at the top, I want these to have more pink in them. I'm just smoothing it out a little. Hang on, let me smooth it this way. I think it smooths better that way. Okay, I want a little pink up in here, a little pink here. Come on, baby. And then in order to separate these two, you look at them, this one's behind, so I'm going to put a little bit of probably purple. Well, let me do it this way. I think it'll work better this way. There we go. Okay, and we're going to do his middle thing there. I'm going to clean it out. Alrighty. And we're going to get the yellow and do that middle there. Okay. All right. And now we'll move on to this guy over here. And he's going to be very interesting because he's going to have a very dark section here where we're going down into the middle. Very dark. I want to get more dark on there. Separate this out a little. There we go. And I'm going to add a little more of the ruby up at the top. So really, all you have to do is remember, if it's light, it's pink. If it's the lightest color, it's pink. If it's the next lightest color, it's ruby. If it's the final color, it's probably one of the purples. And in this case, for me, it is the royal violet. Here, I'm just going to do him. This is a little bit of the center section here, so I'm going to come down and do that. There isn't a whole lot to the second fire, except that you do want to get these colors down here. There. Okay. And then this is an extension of the leaves down here, so we're going to just use the dark and come down. Now, let me show you a secret with the dark. Let's say that's the way they look right now. you can add a little bit of Ruby Best to your green. Watch what it does. Yep. It gives you almost a blackish look to it. Here, let me show you over here. It's probably better if we do it somewhere where you've already got the color out. See here? Look at that. Isn't that pretty? So on your third fire, you could add a little ruby, if you want, to some of your flowers, some of your leaves, and that green just perks right up, I think. It really looks nice. I like it down here because it's dark. So I'm going to do a little purple here, and I'm going to do a little purple here. Come all the way down to the bottom of the flower there. Oops, I need a little more purple. Sometimes your purple is not on your brush high enough. Like it should cover, sometimes you really need it to cover half your brush in order to get the color you want. And if that happens, you have to keep going back in and adding the color to your brush until you get it exactly the way you want it to be. Okay, and I want a little purple down here. And I want this to be purple. And now I'm going to go in and put the ruby in. This is a little bit different because I think I'll start with a little pink here because this is light. And maybe I'll do a little pink here because this is kind of light. And then I'll take the ruby and I will do the ruby right here. And then just feather. And you know, everybody should probably know by now, but feathering is just very lightly holding way back on your brush and very lightly going like this. And this guy comes up this high here, that high there. Okay, and let's put in the little squiggly guy here. All right. And I'm going to take one of these and just kind of, there. And this is where I decide where I want my light. I kind of look at it and I go, okay, does it need it there? Does it need it there? And down here, I'd like a little more light there. And I use the side of this. See how I took the color off with that there? And I want a little more light up here. There we go. Okay. We're going to put in the actual leaves that go with the crocus. Okay. And you're going to use a combination. You're going to take, let me show you this. This is weird. You're going to put some in here. Just put it on your brush. You don't have to put it on one side or the other. And put this on your brush, but try to put it just like on the left, maybe, if you want. And you're going to start here. And you're going to go like that. Come on, you. Might have to use shading green. It might not be dark enough green here. And I'm going to do, there we go. You can even do them upside down if it works a little better for you. Sometimes it does for me, because you want a point on the end of it. Then you have to turn it back to decide where your next one's going to go. I need a little more oil. That's the reason it's not going out for me. Here we go. And maybe I'll put one here. And I've got two down there. Let's put another one here. A couple more down here. I don't want, here, maybe one up here. Okay, now, you get yourself a stump, a pointed one of these, whatever you want. This is a little, hang on, this one's, these two are a little bit There we go. Let me get the color out of them a little bit. Hang on here. They're just a little too bold. Okay. And you're going to take your stump. I like using the baby stump. This is the baby one. And you're going to start at the base, and you're just going to do a line up the middle. That's all you're going to do. Now, hang on here. I want to get this so that it goes into the flower more. There we go. These are the way, at least around me, that the crocus look. Those are the crocus leaves. Now here, I don't like that. That's too sharp. So now I'm just going back and looking at what I've done. And I'm going to bring the color down a little, then, or bring it up, but I've got to get rid of that being so sharp right there. There we go. And I don't want this as sharp there. I don't want that as sharp there. If you have highlights you want to bring out, you've got to do it now. Don't wait, because if you wait, or if you have yellow in a place you don't want it, or white in a place you don't want it, if you wait, you cannot get it back. Once you put it in the kiln, you're out of luck. Alrighty. And I think I'm going to get a little more. Just using the purple here. Put it here. Just going back and looking at the depth a little bit, making sure I've got it where I want it. But this will not do it. You will probably need to do a third fire. Okay, so that's what I have now. This guy I don't like. Oh, you know, I know what it is. This thing in the middle is too high. Let me fix that. This guy here, this is just too high. It needs something in front of it. There. And then we'll come down. Okay, that looks more like a crocus. Alrighty, I can do this and show you here. I'm taking this is my Ruby Best, and I'm gonna have to mix more anyway if I'm gonna do that. And I'm just putting it around the edges. And I didn't like just the Ruby Best around the edges. I thought it was a little, I know it's going to be a little too harsh. Let me do this here. And that's how I did it. So what I did was I took a little purple and I just plopped it a couple places and then worked it in. And that's how I got the edge. And I think for Easter, these colors are perfect. This is the other one that we did. Okay, so those are the two. They're pretty close now, but when it gets fired, it will fade a little bit. So pick up those brushes, keep painting, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed the program, and I hope you'll take a minute to subscribe so that other people can learn more about China painting and we can get the word out to more people. You also can look at the links below. My Paintnporcelain.com website has a lot of freebies and printables for new and experienced painters, as well as studies, supplies, and even some of my hand-painted china. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time.